Hey, hey everyone. How are you? Let me turn my volume up. Want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity um to join me. It's so much fun. So much fun. I look forward to talking to you guys. What's up? Hey, Michael, how are you? What's good with you? I'm so excited right now. Hopefully, everyone can see my screen. So let me get like a one in the chat if you can see my screen, a one in the chat if you can see my screen, and I'm going to put it on presentation view right now. So if you can see my screen, I would love for you. Put a number one in the chat if you could see my screen, a number one. Thanks, Ken. Ken can see my screen. So that means I am sharing successfully and I'm being heard. So that's awesome. You always want to make sure your audio works and your visual work, right? So as promised, I'm on live tonight because I want to just share some information with you guys. Today was the first day, day one of 3 of our Cash Flow Your Life boot camp. And it's always a great opportunity. So to learn, to teach, to bless others and enlighten them and share with them what these strategies look like and how they can take advantage of them. Okay. So this is what people pay for. You know, I'm going to give you a quick rundown and crash course of what this looks like. If you want to know more details, obviously you got to come to the boot camp because that's where it is. That's where you're going to get in-depth information on how to put these strategies together. However, what I want you to understand is that there are multiple different strategies out there. So I just want to talk about a few of them with you all tonight, okay? So we're going to talk about a few real estate investing strategies tonight. We're going to talk about the benefits of them as well as the challenges with each of them, with each of these different strategies, okay? So there are many ways for you to make money in real estate, okay? This is just like a snapshot of the most popular ways, but there are so many other opportunities out there. So tonight we're only going to talk about real estate wholesaling, which is like the buzzword right now. We have options. We're going to talk about that. Most people understand options because they know the term like rent to own. We're going to talk about subject to, which is like taking over payments, existing mortgages, leveraging seller financing, right? And zero down strategies, right? Getting the property owner, the seller to be your bank. We're going to discuss buy, fix, and sell, which is our renovations. A lot of people know what that is. Thank goodness for HGTV. You know, they made that strategy really popular. Most people understand what that looks like. We're going to talk about buy and holds. That's like our long-term strategy there. And we're talking a little bit about, you know, tax liens and tax deeds, if that's okay with you guys, right? So if that's okay with y'all, let me get a one. Let me get a one. Let me get a one in the chat. Let me get a one in the chat. And then we will move forward. Okay. So whatever questions you have, just pop them in the comment section and I'll try to answer them as best as I can, because you guys be like throwing the questions at so fast and it's awesome. But I want to educate and I want to share. So I'm really excited about everyone who's here tonight. All right. So with no further delay, you are listening to the Jackie Jackson. I am a full-time real estate investor, and I'm also a real estate coach and a mentor to women. And I teach real estate investing strategies as well as implement them on a daily basis in my own business. So I'm not teaching theory. I'm not teaching theory, nor am I teaching you from a textbook, okay? This is what I do every day. I implement these strategies and I use them for myself to make money for me and my family. This is how we eat, okay? And it's really important for you to understand that, because you have some thought leaders out there, which is fine. You know, they're teaching theory, but they're not actively doing deals anymore. You know, that's different. You want to make sure that whoever it is that you're listening to is actively doing deals, because they're staying up with the changes, with legislation, as well as what's happening in the market. Does that make sense? I mean, hopefully, you know, you would want to work with someone that is actively in the market and they're doing deals, so that you can get the best advice, right? Those are the people who are in the trenches, who are, you know, putting together the strategies, the paperwork, and they're making it happen. All right. So that's who you are currently listening to right now. All right. So with no further delay, let's move on to the next slide. So the next slide here, we're going to talk about wholesaling. All right. So that's one of the very popular strategies that a lot of people, especially if you're new to real estate, you learn about wholesaling. A lot of people gravitate to that first, because it doesn't require you to have a license, a real estate agent's license or sales agent's license. You can have a license and be a wholesaler or execute the wholesale strategy. And it's so interesting because people use the word wholesaler as if it's like a profession, but it really isn't. You're a real estate investor that decides to use the wholesale strategy as your strategy of choice, right? So when I ask people like, oh, are you a real estate investor? They're like, no, I'm a wholesaler. I'm like, okay, but that means that you are a real estate investor. Hello. Hello. But it's all good. So let's talk about the wholesaling strategy. So wholesaling strategy is normally reserved for houses that needs to be fixed up, okay? So distressed properties and highly motivated property owners themselves, like people who are emotionally detached from the property for various different reasons. You know, maybe the property needs a lot of repairs and they just don't have the money for it. Or maybe they inherited property and they never intend to live there. There's all kinds of reasons why a property owner would want to deal with and work with a real estate investor that's making them a cash offer. So the wholesale strategy evolves around cash. All right. So this is not like a financing strategy or anything like that. You know, most people have to have cash. Now, it doesn't have to be your cash. That's the benefit. It doesn't have to be your cash, but it's cash nonetheless, right? It's somebody's money. All right. And I'll explain. Okay. So let's take a look at the pros and the cons, or the benefits and the challenges of wholesaling. Now, this is some of the information that I shared with my students today. Christine Baker and we taught today. And so you guys are getting a really, really good treat. Like normally we don't share this, out, but it's really enlightening, and I wanted everyone to have an opportunity to see, what this looks like, what all the different strategies look like. Okay, fair enough. So what you're looking at right now, you're looking at the benefits and the challenges of the wholesaling strategy, right? So the wholesaling strategy, the whole gist of it is this: when you have a property that's under contract, what you're doing as the investor is that you're assigning your interest in that contract to another buyer, to somebody else, okay? And then they're going to pay you an assignment fee. That's how you would make money. It's just ordinary income, if you will, all right? So you're not technically purchasing any property or doing any repairs or doing anything like that. What you're doing is you are marketing to sellers, property owners, and then negotiating really, really deep discounts, conditional on the way that the property is based off of the property's condition is what your offer is going to be. So wholesalers really need to make offers that are like 50 cents to 60 cents on the dollar. Like it's really, really aggressive, right? So you can imagine they got to make a lot of offers to make themselves very successful. So the benefits to actually implementing the wholesale strategy is that you need minimal capital to start, right? Because you're not buying any property, you're not doing anything like that, you're not renovating, so you don't need to have like any reserves in order to make this strategy work, all right? What you do need, however, is a marketing budget, right? So whether that's $100 or $50 or $500, whatever it is that you have to start, you do need some marketing startup capital so that you can get your marketing message out there to these property owners with these distressed properties, right? So the other benefit is that it's a quick turnaround time. Remember, you're just assigning your contract to somebody else, right? So yeah, that's how that works, right? So it usually the deal closes in a really, really short period of time, right? And there's little downside or little risk to you because you're not the one that's renovating the property. You're not the one doing any of those things. It is the other investor or who's going to take your contract from you, who you're signing your contract to. They're the ones who actually assume the majority of the risk in the deal, all right? And you make money in less time, but you also make less money as well, okay? Because you are taking on less risk. So the average for wholesalers, I would probably say, is anywhere from, it depends on the area. Sometimes it's $3,000 to $5,000 per deal, or maybe 5 to 10. It just depends on the market and what the market's rates are, or how deep you discount. You're able to like negotiate. That'll get you a bigger paycheck too. All right, another benefit is that you learn about the real estate market very, very quickly because you're doing a lot of marketing and a lot of research. So you get to really obtain in-depth information about real estate markets, especially your local markets, or if you're doing any virtual wholesaling, which just means that you're doing implementing the wholesale strategy someplace else outside of like where you live or where you're physically located. All right. And then another benefit is that you don't need any credit. No credit, no qualifying, no banks, no nothing, no cash. That's the boss part about this strategy. So the challenge is that your income is unpredictable, all right? You're not building or creating any wealth with the wholesale strategy, right? So you're not creating or building any equity, nothing like that. There's no residual income. None of that is available to you. Like everything that you did to get your deal, whether it's your first deal, second deal, third deal, or 100th deal, you got to redo the whole thing all over again to get another deal. Like, it starts, you get the property on the contract, you assign your contract, and it's over. It's done. You got to redo that whole process all over again. All right. So you have to continuously have like your pipeline full in order for you to be successful at this strategy. So it also depends on finding buyers. And when I say buyers, I mean like cash buyers, like other investors that have money that's going to bring money to the table and help you close on your assigned contract. Okay. So that's really, really important. And then another challenge that some investors have is maintaining a deep relationship, right? A meaningful relationship with your cash buyers list. All right. So it's not enough to say, okay, I got a list of cash buyers. You also have to know what they want, what's their buying criteria, what's their business model, all of those things in order for you to have a really good, successful business. So when you have a contract, a property under contract, you know exactly who to introduce that contract to so that you can assign it very, very quickly and obtain your assignment fee. All right. And there's no guaranteed income with wholesaling. And it's also contingent, on your ability to be able to find a buyer. Right. And you consistently also have to replenish your pipeline over and over and over and over again. Let me see if I have any questions so far. I've got some cool people. All right. So everybody's still on. Y'all still with me? All right. Y'all still with me. Love it. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so we have options with a lease to buy. So some people call this like rent to own, in these streets. I'm from Brooklyn, so we always in these streets. At least I'm always in these streets, right? So in these streets, the street term is rent to own, all right? Which basically is an option agreement with a lease, all right? It's an option agreement with a lease. And an option agreement can come with a lease and have them both in the same document, have both terms in both agreements and both terms in the same document. But for the purpose of our conversation, what we are discussing tonight is a separate option agreement and a separate lease, because we're going to be assigning our interest in our option agreement to someone else. Okay, so you want to keep those two relationships separate. All right, so let's take a look at the pros and cons. So if you did not know about these strategies, it's pretty dope. So I love options. And the reason why I love options are because you can essentially control real property, all right, without owning it. You can control it, you can cash flow it, you can benefit from it, and really be successful without actually having to qualify or having to access your credit or with little risk, to you, right? Very similar to the wholesaling strategy. There's very little minimal risk to the investor using these strategies, okay? The biggest risk is maintaining your relationships and your communication with everybody who's part of your transaction, right? So if you are not like a good communicator, then these are the strategies here that you're going to have to get really, really familiar with and get really, really good at explaining, so that everybody in your transaction who you're communicating with has a clear understanding of what is happening. All right. So let's look at the benefits and the challenges here. Are you ready? You guys listening? Let me get a one. Let me get a one, or let me get something else. Let me get a happy face or some love going on up in here. Let me get some love. Can I get some love? Anybody? Some hearts or something. Anybody? If this is resonating with you, let me get some hearts. Let me get some love. Let me get something. All right. This is gold right here. Like, people pay thousands of dollars. People literally pay me thousands of dollars to teach them these strategies in depth. Okay. I promise you they do. They pay me thousands of dollars to teach them these strategies. Why? Because I'm doing them and they're successful. And my students are making money. My students are closing deals. Okay. My students are absolutely making money and closing deals. Okay. And that's important for you to understand, that when you want to be successful at anything, you must have someone, a leader, a mentor, or somebody in your life that's going to help you reduce your learning curve, right? Back in the day, before there was institutionalized learning, if you wanted to learn how to have your own stable, right, you went and you went and you learned at a stable, right? You did that. You wanted to learn how to be a baker or a pastry chef, you were an apprentice and you sat with someone and they showed you how to do it, and that's how people learn. When we went into this institutionalized model, that's when we got away from that. But the truth is, the best way to learn is to learn with someone who's actually working and doing. Does that make sense? Someone who's mastered these skills so that they can teach you how to avoid the pitfalls and how to avoid, areas that could cause you to, make harm to yourself, So that's the reason why I coach. That's the reason why I teach, because I want to see other people be really, really successful. So this is what we're going to do. So now we're talking about option agreements and how this works. Okay. So the benefits of a real estate investor, if they're going to make option agreements like their main strategy, it's really, really cool. All right. It allows investors to control real property without owning it. I mentioned that earlier. I love that. Allows creative exit strategy. So what is an exit strategy, right? What that means is, like, how are you going to benefit and how are you going to make money? That's the exit strategy. Like, what is your intent with the deal? All right. You don't have to have any upfront, or you have to have, what is it? What did I write? I don't even know my own words. You have upfront cash from an option fee. So what that actually means is you would collect an actual option fee from your optionee, which is pretty cool, right? So you get cash like right up front. You have potential cash flow during the term of your option agreement, which is awesome. All right. And you also have potential cash, or a big pop of cash, possibly when your optionee buys the property sometime in the future at a future date, which is pretty cool. So there's potentially, with option agreements, this is why a lot of investors like them, is because you actually can have 3 different opportunities to make money in an option agreement. All right. So that's pretty cool. It doesn't require you to have any credit, any funding, or anything like that. And the optionee, normally we are also offering a whole lot of benefits to the property owner, to include like a home warranty to take care of the property when the agreement is active and in effect, right? And the optionee takes the property as is, which is pretty cool. So you're not even having to like fix up anything, which is what I love the most, is that you literally are not fixing up anything or having to do any repairs. Is just really, really minimal. So the downside or the challenges to having an option is that sometimes, most of the lessees, right, who you're going to assign your option agreement to, those people, sometimes they just aren't credit worthy. All right. And when they're not credit worthy, what does that mean? That means that you have to hold their hand. You have to take them through the process of them improving their credit so that at some time in the future, they can qualify for the mortgage that they need to close on the deal. All right. So evictions sometimes, hey, and that's with any landlord, right? So if you got anybody in your property, there's always going to be a risk of having to evict them if they default and they need to go, right? So that's always going to be part of your contingency plan. What are you going to do if in the event that somebody's in your property and they're not paying, right? That's a real thing. What about this? Another con is that the possibility of your optionee believing that they have equitable interest. I don't know if anybody knows what equitable interest is, but equitable interest is what you gain when you own property and you're paying down your balance on your mortgage, right? You gain equity, right? And the equity is yours, okay? So with an option agreement, the optionee does not gain any equity at all right? And you want to make that clear. So in all of your agreements, you want to make sure that it is clear that they're not buying the property, all right? They have an agreement to purchase the property at a specific price, at a specific time, and they have the option to either buy or not buy. That's how that is, okay? But they're not buying the property at that particular moment, okay? So you always have to screen for your buyers. You want to make sure find out how close they are to qualifying, all of that cool stuff. You need to follow up with them. Does that make sense? So, you have to hold your buyer's hand in the process and make sure, they follow through with the purchase in itself, okay? So that includes making sure they pay their bills on time, they qualify with their debt ratio, they improve their credit scores, they have the income that shows on their tax returns, or just stable work history by itself. All right. So I hope that makes sense to you guys out there right now. This is pretty amazing, right? Good stuff. Good stuff. I know it's good stuff. You guys are still watching, so that's pretty cool. So let's talk about subject to. This is another strategy. All right. I don't know if you guys have heard about this one. Subject to is pretty dope. I like this one as well, too. So subject to or taking over payments. And some people call it TOPS, TOP for taking over payments as a abbreviation. But the technical term is you're purchasing the property subject to the existing mortgage. And when you buy property subject to, normally it's a pretty house. It normally is a house that's in pretty good condition. If it has a mortgage on it, normally it's, a house that's relatively still in good condition because the owner hasn't paid it off yet. Does that make sense? Unlike the wholesale strategy, this one is for pretty houses. And then option agreements, the one strategy that we looked at before, is for pretty houses as well too. Okay. So the wholesaling one is normally for houses that are, pretty beat up and, they're in disrepair. All right. So let's take a look. So what are the pros and cons, or the benefits and challenges for taking over someone's mortgage? All right. So here's this goes. Well, for you, the investor, it's a low money down strategy for real, because all you're doing is taking over the other person's mortgage, right? So yeah, you don't have to qualify. There's no bank qualifying. You're not necessarily financially responsible for the mortgage, but I implore you, if you are dabbling, or you're going to make the subject to strategy your go-to strategy, make sure you understand it and seek legal advice and, all of that stuff out there. I'm not a accountant or a attorney or anything like that. So you want to make sure that you seek advice before you do any of these strategies at all. But, you want to make sure that anything that you commit to doing, that you're going to do it. All right. So we are professionals in everything that we do. So you want to make sure one of the benefits is that you're leveraging really, the existing mortgage that's in place. So the benefits to the investor would be that you're not the one that has to come up with all the money. You're just, it's already there. Why pay off that mortgage if it's already securing the real property, especially if it has a really, really good rate and has really, really good terms. All right. And then when you're talking to the seller, what you're really negotiating with them is the equity, which is the difference between the mortgage and the market value of the property. So that's pretty cool. So that's definitely less, cash out of pocket for the investor. So that's why this particular strategy is so lucrative, right? And then you have the opportunity to control the property with potential cash flow, all right? And then the ability to transfer the deed into a land trust. Now, that's a really advanced strategy. I like to buy all my properties in land trust because what it provides me with is like asset protection. It provides me with anonymity in public records as well. So what that means to me is like my personal name and my personal, like my entity name, my business name, my corporate name is not in public records. Does that make sense? So that's why that is there. That's the pros to that. All right. So here's the challenges to maximizing this strategy. All right. You have to continuously maintain your relationship with the seller. You're forever intertwined. It's like a marriage. All right. So as long as you are continuously paying their payment on their behalf, that's the whole purpose of like taking over a payment. You have to maintain a relationship with them. All right. You have to let them know what's going on and be accountable to that, right? So you also have to communicate with the mortgage servicer, and you must also be aware of your state-specific statutes when it comes on to real estate. Now, one of the biggest challenges or concerns that a lot of investors have, they're like, Jackie, but what about the due on sales clause? What about that? The mortgage servicer or the mortgage lender, they can call this due. They can call the loan due. Well, I'll tell you what. Your lender can call the loan due at any time. That's a clause that's kind of written in like all of our mortgages, to be honest with you. You know, like I haven't found a mortgage yet that does not have that clause in there. So it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be one of those assumed risks that you take. However, you hedge against that risk by making your payments on time, like for real. That's how that works. You know, if the lender is receiving their payment successfully and they're collecting their interest and their principal, they're usually not asking who's making the payment, you know? So I just wanted to just make that clear to you guys. Does anybody have any questions? Let me see if any questions is out there. Kirsten said, this is absolutely amazing. I'm excited that you are enjoying this training here real quick. All right, so let's move on to the next strategy. Let's talk about like seller financing and owner financing and zero down, right? People are like, what does this mean? Well, this strategy right here is a strategy where I have used it because I wanted the property owner themselves to be my financer. All right. So this is someone who actually owns the property, and they are selling their own property, and they're advertising for buyers, and they have agreed to be the bank for buyers for their property that they own. Does that make sense? So when you do your payments, if you're the borrower and you're the buyer of this property, you're making your payments directly to the owner. No bank is required, no Wells Fargo, no Bank of America, no nothing like that. You're making your payment to Mr. or Mrs. Smith or whatever they tell you to make the payment out to. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So here you go. Ooh, here, ooh, and ooh. All right, good. Let's make sure this is the right one. All right, cool. So here's the pros and here's the cons to this strategy. Let me make sure I could like get all of it on the same page. I'll go over this one really quick. All right. So usually a property owner can sell as is. They literally can potentially sell, and their buyer pool opens up tremendously when they agree to be the bank for their actual buyers. Like, why wouldn't it? Both qualified as well as unqualified buyers are there, right? There's a whole category of people that want to buy property, but for some reason, whatever the situation is, they may or may not qualify like at that time, right? That's pretty amazing. So when you do seller financing as the investor, when you're making those offers, you're literally are able to really make a good investment by leveraging the cash that you do have available, if you even have cash, because the property owner literally can owner finance you 100% of the purchase price, which is awesome, right? So what that allows you to do is possibly have the potential for cash flowing. So if your intent is to owner finance the property, and then once you're in possession of the property, now you're paying the property owner a monthly amount, then you're going to turn around and rent that property or do something, you know, with it to create that cash flow. Then this is the reason why a lot of investors want to do owner financing deals. All right. And then you can close really, really fast with owner financing. Why? Because there's like no third party. There's no, you know, lender. There's nobody else involved that needs to make a decision in order for both parties to agree and move forward together. Does that make sense? Okay. So the cons, the downsides. Well, owner financing is a little complex, right? So it's a very, very advanced strategy. You're going to need a mortgage. Somebody has to write up the mortgage. Somebody has to write up the note. You're going to need a title company that can help you with that, all of that stuff. And you have to make sure that your deal is structured correctly. And you're going to have to make sure that they're servicing. You also have to make sure that you're updated with the Dodd-Frank Act and consumer protection, and just make sure that you don't infringe on like anybody's rights or anything like that, right? You want to make sure that you have a plan, you know, in the event that there's any default or foreclosure, there's a plan. You know, you got to build in all of these answers in your strategy way, way, way in advance before it actually happens. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Okay. And I'm going to, you know, post this here so you'll have it. Don't worry about it if you miss it. If you're taking notes right now, it's okay. I'll see you guys soon. All right. Hold on a second. So let's move on to our fix and flip. Right. So fix and flip. Renovations, that's what you guys all want to do. Like, Jackie, but I want to fix houses. I want to do HGTV, right? So this is how this looks if you are going to do HGTV, right? So if you are going to be a buy, fix, and sell type of real estate investor, and that was the strategy that you prefer, you know, true fixer-uppers can be bought at a discount, but boy, do you have to search for them, right? They're not like available right then and there. You got to search for those properties like all the time, you know? So you want to make sure that you have a great marketing budget that's going to help you to do that. All right. So you have to have the potential. You have to add value to the property to actually realize any profit. If you're going to add any value to the property, remember your intent is to sell it retail. Okay. So your intent is to sell it retail. So if you sell it retail, you got to make sure that you're in line with like what buyers really want. Okay. So you got to make sure that you understand what that looks like. You also get bigger checks when you actually are we call it now buy, fix, and sell, right? You're taking on a lot of risk, but your checks are normally bigger. So you want to make sure, you know, that you'll be able to realize that too. And you help people. That's awesome. I love that part. You're providing safe, clean homes. You're improving neighborhoods. You know, there's all of that potential that's there too. The cons to that is, of course, you got to hire and you got to manage. There's project management requirements. There's cost of material, right? There's risk with the properties not selling after the renovation. There possibly may be holding costs, you know, if you borrowed money to buy. County permits, you know, you got to make sure that whatever work that you do is permitted. You know, you may have some unexpected delays or unknown expenses that may arise, and you may not, you know, have accounted for that. So those are the cons that comes along with the buy, fix, and sell strategy. So you really have to have a plan in place for all of that. Now, the buy and hold rentals is pretty good. A lot of people know that because you're like a landlord, right? So you're holding the property, and the pros and the benefits for that would be like, basically, you got extra income, right? Hopefully you can cash flow positively, because there is such a thing as cash flowing negatively. I promise you there is. So, but one of the benefits is that most people do cash flow positively. All right. So it's a low commitment. Many landlords hold full-time jobs, right? You're not like fixing and flipping. You're not on the job site or anything like that. The property is there. You already bought it. You got the tenant in there, and you're collecting every single month successfully. You have a, you know, owning real estate, you know, is a long-term investment, you know, so people build value and appreciation over time. They build equity. That's how they create wealth, you know, and this is how they actually get freedom, which is pretty cool. Now, the cons to this one, right? The challenges to being a landlord, sometimes the startup cost is, you know, more than what you have available, right? So when you're thinking about like acquisition of the properties and maintaining it, all of those things, you have to keep that in mind for this particular strategy. You know, some people go in to this strategy by joint venturing with someone else, right? Plus, you also have to keep in mind, yes, you will have tenants and they are real people, and real people have real issues, okay? So you may have a tenant that has an issue and, you know, may have to stop paying or move out or break their lease, and now you have a vacancy. So you have to plan for what that vacancy is going to do for you. You got to have reserves, especially if you have like a loan on that property or something like that, where you are actually, you know, planning on recovering the income, right, from your tenants is paying you. You need that money to pay your loan. All right. So that's a big deal. So you want to make sure that you have a plan in place, a contingency plan or reserves to make sure that you know, that loan or whatever debt servicing you have on a property still can be paid successfully on time. Plus any legal issues, all of that stuff, you got to stay up to date with landlord tenant laws and all that legislation for that property. Fair enough? So, you know, what's stopping you right now? What is stopping anybody from, you know, starting their journey as a real estate investor? And of course, that's me and Christine, and we are always smiling and happy, number one. All right. So most people say it's lack of money, or it's lack of knowledge and experience. Sometimes people say, well, I'm just scared, Jackie. That sounds like a lot, you know, or maybe you feel like you don't have time, or just being afraid to invest and like just really jump in and really, you know, take the wheel and just go after it. So I would love to hear from you guys. You know, Real Estate 101, we did a really fast crash course on, you know, some different types of strategies that you could be implementing and learning more about. Let me get some questions in the chat right here. What's stopping you? What do you think you need? What's missing in your plan when you think about investing in real estate? What do you think? What do you think is missing in your plan? All right. What do you think? What other resources, tools, people do you think you need in order to implement these resources here? I would love to hear more from each of you regarding that right there. So was this good? Was this good for you? What do you think? Was this good? I want to give a quick shout out to everyone that joined: Michael, Mary, Annette, Ken, Joan, Kirsten, Crusada, Andre, Abdullah, Kirsten's on. Let me see. Andrea, Ismail, Pragi, Lisa, Nicola, Patrice, Art, Jay, Latrice is on as well. So was this good, you guys? Was this good? Ken Coleman. Oh, there's 2 different Kens on. Okay. That's what's up. And then Summer. All right. Shout out to Summer as well, too. So this is a really good opportunity for you guys. You can always go back, tag it, come back. If you have any questions, you want to come out to our boot camp and you want to have a more in-depth understanding of these strategies, then come out to our boot camp. I'll drop the link right now. Let me see. Let's go. It's Cashflow Your Life. Okay. Cashflowyourlife.com. Cashflowyourlife.com. Let's see, Cashflow Your Life. All right. I got to spell everything out, man. /realtor. That's what it is. All right. So we are out in Melbourne, Florida. And that's where we are doing our boot camp. I'm trying to speak and like type at the same time, and it's not working out. Whew, there we go. Anyway, so let's see. I got 2 comments in here. Let's see if I can answer the questions before we go real quick. So Kirsten says, absolutely amazing. Everyone's like, yay, yay, rah, rah. This is really, really good. So this is a snapshot of some of the strategies that I teach in depth to my coaching students, and they love it. They take the information, they know exactly what to do, and they go out and they do it. You know, I refer them to the right people, get them connected, and, you know, get them the right systems in place so that they can build their business successfully without any delay. But that's pretty it. That's it. So Ali is on, and Shalair, hopefully I said your name correctly. I love shouting out everyone who joins in. All right, guys, thank you so much. That's it. So that's real estate investing strategies like 101. That's what's up. All right. Now I think I got to fix this. It says marketing strategies. I didn't mean marketing strategies. I meant investing strategies. So my bad. I was typing really, really fast. So we went through real estate investing strategies, the pros and cons, benefits and challenges. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to sharing with you guys soon.